Our guest speaker this morning is David King, a father and grandfather who is also Executive Director of the Alberta Public School Board Association. A former MLA and Minister of Education, Mr. King will be speaking about redefining the peace movement. Mr. David King.
I'd like to begin by thanking the students of Belgravia School for being here and for the song, because I'm going to talk about shalom or salam in my remarks. And I'd also like to suggest that all of you would be better off if you moved in a little bit so that you were in front of the kids and look at the students while I am speaking instead of at me, because I really want to talk about the students this afternoon, and you should be looking at them and thinking about them while I am talking. Most of my attention and effort as a person and as a citizen and as a partner with God in the work of creation has focused on my fellow citizens and especially children. I'm married to a grade 1 teacher, now retired, but for 35 years she brought home a lot of stories about kids that complemented my experience raising kids and grandchildren. The question for all of us should always be, how can we be good people? How can we be good citizens? And how can we be good to each other? As the children sang, there's a Hebrew word, shalom, and it's very much like an Arabic word, salam. I understand that it means peace, but not merely in the sense of there being an absence of conflict. More important, shalom or salam indicates the presence of a spirit that binds us when we feel wounded and makes us whole and helps us to feel healthy and whole and debt-free. I didn't know until recently that shalom or salam included the sense of being debt-free, but I think when we consider peace that it's really appropriate. Peace has a price, because peace is enduring, and the price that is paid for enduring peace is that we should contribute to making it happen. Gandhi said, if we are to teach real peace in this world, and if we are to carry peace against war, we shall have to begin with the children. I don't like to speak ever without recommending at least one book to my audience, and today I'd like to recommend 3. I've just finished reading a fascinating book with a disturbing title. It's called On Killing: The Psychological Cost of Learning to Kill in War and Society, by a Lieutenant Colonel in the American Army Reserve, Dave Grossman. He draws this conclusion, very boldly stated at the beginning of the book. I'm quoting, "Despite an unbroken tradition of violence and war, man and woman is not by nature a killer." What is unsettling in his book, the subject of it, is that we condition people and we teach people to do violence and to kill. Grossman writes that for millennia we've limited this conditioning and teaching to adolescent boys that society was preparing for war. But he makes the claim that in the last 40 years or so, we've been instilling the message in younger and younger people, pre-adolescents, young children. We've implicated girls and women in the message, and we've enlarged the theater in which violence is acceptable, from the theater of conventional war to schools and workplaces and streets and parks and the homes of every community. We've been perverting the sense of belonging, removing it from the sphere of the family and the community to the decision of cliques and systems that are impersonal. And we're well along a process that is very, very damaging for our community. Think of that in the context of the children and the behavior that we increasingly see displayed. Barbara Coloroso makes complementary arguments in her recent book, Extraordinary Evil, A Brief History of Genocide. You may know her, that she has spent her life concerned about raising children, concerned about self-discipline, and schoolyard bullying. She illustrates something that we all know in our hearts. There's a thick, solid line that connects the way we act in the presence of our children and the way we treat children with the behavior of children towards each other and towards adults, and then with the behavior of adults towards adults, and gang violence, and child soldiers, and killing, and genocide. If we're going to have peace, we should look at Darfur or Afghanistan or 100 other places around the world as cautionary tales. But they are not the places where peace will be won or lost. Peace for ourselves as well as for the world will be won or lost right here in Edmonton, in our homes and in our schools, on our streets, in our workplaces. We have too many children who are excluded or neglected or abused in one way or another. We have too many adults who are being bullied. By example, we are teaching too many children to bully or to submit to bullying. Too many adults are being marginalized or ostracized because they are recent arrivals, or because they are mentally ill, or because they are dependent. And by example, we are teaching our children that it is acceptable to marginalize and to ostracize. Too many decisions are being made on the basis of adrenaline, without pause or reflection. And by example, we are teaching our children to be reactive instead of proactive. We are teaching them to be victims instead of creators. Peace is not complicated or expensive or remote, but it is complex, and it is dear, and it is impermanent, because it is the work of human hearts and hands. That class can be at peace in the classroom in one moment, and not at peace, and obviously not at peace, in another situation, in another moment. We never hold on to it unless we hold on to it constantly. Jill Jackson and Cy Miller wrote a song titled "Let There Be Peace on Earth and Let It Begin With Me." A famous American pacifist had this as his personal motto. A.J. Muste said, "There is no way to peace. Peace is the way." Martin Luther King said something very similar. Peace is not a distant goal that we seek, but the means by which we arrive at the goal. Robert Fulghum wrote a great little book called All I Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. It's already behind them. He made at least one important comment that was beyond the covers of his book. He said, peace is not something you wish for, it's something you make, something you do, something that you are, something that you give away. The International Day of Peace is sponsored by the United Nations and others. The General Assembly and the Security Council are a long way away. The world is a big place. We can stand in this plaza at this moment and pray for peace half a world away, and perhaps support an army or a group that will go over there and try to make peace. In the meantime, we may return to our home, our school, our work, our neighborhood, where we may quietly submit to neglect or exclusion or other forms of violence. We may leave here and quietly condone violence. We may sow violence. We may visit violence on others, knowingly or unknowingly. My prayer for all of us would be this, that as we go home, and for as long as it takes, we would think about one act of neglect or exclusion or abuse that is played out around each one of us, and that we would think about how we can act or speak to inject some peace into that situation, not half a world away, but where we are, where we live, where we work. Can we ease the tension, relieve the fatigue, spur a sense of enthusiasm, improve the sense of belonging? Can we improve the spirit of cooperation and mutual regard? Can we model peace in our own lives for one moment in the place where we are? And especially, can we who are adults do that unself-consciously in front of a child or a group of children? Can we do peace and show peace and live peace and give peace to one another so that children see it happening? Remember Gandhi's words, if we are to teach real peace in this world, and if we are to carry peace against war, we shall have to begin with the children. There is no way to peace. Peace is the way. Peace is not something you wish for, it's something you make, something you do, something you are, and something you give away. Shalom to all of the children of Belgravia School, and salam. Thank you.